Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara are walking around the city trying to decide what to do with their day. Megumi decides to return to Jujutsu High while Yuji tries to convince Nobara to see Human Earthworm 4 at the movies with him. He explains the plot and shows her the trailer for the movie, but Nobara isn't interested. As they go their separate ways, a teenage girl around their age watches from across the street. Meanwhile, Aitoto and Mei may play ping pong after submitting their recommendations for promoting several Jujutsu High students to grade 1. Toto is under the impression he will be able to mentor Yuji as he pursues the promotion, but Mei may burst his bubble by reminding him that the person who recommended Yuji can accompany him on his required missions. Completely deflated, Mei defeats Toto at ping pong. The girl who was watching Yuji earlier eventually works up the courage to approach Nobara. They agree to speak at a restaurant, and the girl introduces herself as Yuko Azawa. She and Yuji went to middle school together when she was much shorter and chubbier. Her appearance has completely changed, and she gives Nobara hints that she would like to reunite with Yuji. Interested, Nobara asks, "It's like that," and Yuko confirms she has a crush on Yuji. Determined to help, Nobara gets Eijiki to take Megumi back into the city and has him dropped off at the restaurant. Nobara explains the situation, and even Megumi asks, "It's like that." He confirms that Yuji doesn't have a girlfriend and that he likes tall girls, giving Nobara and Yuko the confidence things might work out. Nobara summons Yuji, and to everyone's surprise, he recognizes Yuko without hesitation. Yuko quickly realizes that Yuji always sees more of her than just her appearance. She becomes ashamed of trying to impress him, as if he's the same as the other boys, who always judged her weight. Yuko decides not to reveal her feelings and leaves without getting Yuji's number. Megumi asks Nobara if this is alright, and the latter reveals she exchanged numbers with Yuko, so it's fine. Yuji catches up with his two classmates shortly after and pressures them to go to the movies with him. Sometime later, the trio meets with Yurihime Iori to investigate the mole at Jujutsu High. They investigate the place where Kokichi Mu's real body is located. They believe Kokichi Muda, also known as Mekamaru, must be the mole by process of elimination. His technique, puppet manipulation, is the only one capable of pulling off long-range surveillance. At Kyoto Jujutsu High, Kasumi Miwa reminds Mekamaru of the last day to turn in their notebooks, but the puppet tells Kasumi that he needs to rest for now. He anticipates visitors, but not Yubihime and the others. They discover a false hideout, confirming that Kokichi is the traitor. Kokichi actually meets with Geto and Mahito, who have entered a binding vow with him to fix his body in exchange for information. Mahito wants to kill Kokichi, but Geto sternly warns him about the backlash from breaking a vow with others. The cursed spirit begrudgingly heals Kokichi's body with idol transfiguration, and the two of them decide to settle their differences right then and there. Kokichi calls multiple Mekamaru puppets to his side and sends them to his opponent. Mahito quickly dispatches them, but Kokichi disappears before blowing up the hideout entirely. Mahito and Geto survive, ending up outside near a large lake. Kokichi's ultimate invention rises from the water, Mekamaru Mode. Absolute. This colossal version of Mekamaru is piloted by Kokichi from the inside. He's saved up 17 years of cursed energy and plans to survive by using it to defeat Mahito. He knows his chances of victory are slim, and his survival hinges on him being able to contact Satoru Gojo to rescue him. Having recorded everything that's happened up to this point, Kokichi believes he knows how to win. He opens the battle using a year's worth of cursed energy and a single shot of his ultra cannon. Mahito survives a near point-blank ultimate cannon from the massive Mekamaru and darts around the battlefield, attempting to avoid the giant's punches and kicks. Kokichi is aware his usual methods of attack won't be able to damage Mahito's soul, but he has a plan in mind. He activates a charge worth 2 years of cursed energy and unleashes Miracle Cannon on the body of water. Mahito avoids any lasting damage, but his clothes are burned off. He enlarges his fist and punches Mekamaru across the face, landing a powerful hit that shakes the cockpit. Kokichi is made painfully aware that any more of Mahito's offense could rip Mekamaru apart if the battle dragon's on. Kokichi plugs a mechanical tube into a port in the cockpit, loading a cursed technique into it. This technique charged tube is fired from Mekamaru's finger like a projectile that stabs into Mahito's shoulder. Under the assumption that Mekamaru can't damage his soul, Mahito disregards the attack until his entire left arm explodes. Kokichi capitalizes by having Mekamaru attack while Mahito is injured, sending him crashing through the forest with a kick from the giant puppet. Mekamaru attempts to follow up, but Mahito changes into a hybrid bird form and flies away again. Kokichi notices that Mahito changed his appearance to hide his injury, confirming for himself that the projectile was effective. Even Geto is surprised that Kokichi's strategy is working. Keeping up his relentless attacks, Mekamaru fires Pigeon Viola to pursue Mahito through the air, forcing the cursed spirit to flee and transform into several different animals as he runs through the forest. Unaware of which attacks are injuring him, Mahito has no choice but to be more careful and ascertain which one injured him. Mahito severs electrical wires connected to Mekamaru's head, but he's quickly countered and sent flying with another punch. Confident he can win, Kokichi loads another tube with technique charge and goes for the kill. Refusing to give up another inch, the injured cursed spirit suddenly expands his domain, self-embodiment of perfection. Mahito assumes Kakashi thought he would use domain expansion in preparation for Shibuya and states 10 days is plenty of time to recover. Believing he's won, Mahito turns away only for Mekamaru to stab him in the back with another loaded technique charge. Kakashi reveals that he was able to protect himself from the domain and injure Mahito, using one specific technique that was loaded into the tube's new shadow style, Simple Domain. Mahito's body implodes and Kokichi appears to have exorcised him at last. Hino admits he's impressed with Kokichi's application of Simple Domain. Kokichi turns his attention to taking out the curse user, but he celebrates too early when Mahito suddenly crashes through the cockpit of the giant puppet. A regular-sized Mekamaru appears in the cockpit to hold off Mahito, while Kokichi prepares another two to stab directly into Mahito manually. The cursed spirit dispatches the puppet, and the two fighters attempt to land their last-ditch attack at the same time. Unfortunately for Kokichi, Mahito's hands touch him before he's able to land the finishing blow. Meanwhile, at Kyoto Jujutsu High, Kasumi Miwa sits next to the sleeping Mekamaru puppet and expresses how she enjoys that the students have gotten closer since the baseball game. Miwa wants to get even closer to Mekamaru and promises to visit Kokichi's real body one day. However, unbeknownst to her, her beloved classmate has already met his untimely end. Mahito regroups with Geto, and the latter asks if the fight was more dangerous than expected. Mahito claims that he blew himself up on purpose to deceive Kokichi, and there was nothing dangerous about it. With that warm-up out of the way, Geto and Mahito reveal that the final preparations for the Shibuya incident have been concluded. 10 days later, just after 7 p.m. on October 31st, a 40-meter curtain is lowered over Shibuya. It traps civilians inside, and they're told they won't be able to leave until Satoru Gojo arrives. Several teams of Jujutsu sorcerers are placed outside the curtain as a precaution. These teams include sorcerers such as Megumi Fushiguro, Takuma Ino, Kento Manami, Nobara Kujisaki, Maki Zinin, Naobito Zinin, Panda, and Atsuya Kusakabe. Managers inform each squad of the situation and give them their orders to stand by and take out anything that gets past Satoru once he goes inside. There's no cellular signal inside the curtain and the civilians are trapped, but they're not currently in any danger. However, Kusakabe notes that there are definitely special-grade cursed spirits waiting underground. Around 8:31 p.m., Gojo arrives and enters the curtain. Gojo looks at all the trapped people from above and notices that there is another veil centered under this floor that traps non-sorcerers inside. He wants to get to the other side, and in typical Gojo Satoru way, he walks over the heads of other people and gets to the other side. He has a good idea of what the culprits are aiming for, so he decides to play along for now. Meanwhile, at Aoyama's cemetery, Itadori is not happy with letting Gojo-sensei handle it alone since he can't sit back and do anything. Itadori is a lucky guy because he got teamed up with Mei's son. Her brother hands him something so he can put down a clean cloth for Mei's son to sit on. Mei informs him that they will be heading towards Shibuya soon, and her brother doesn't like Gojo Satoru as he's making his elegant sister work as his backup. Mei tells him that he's not some ordinary guy, but he states that Mei is also not an ordinary person. Itadori has no idea how to respond to what he's seeing and just wishes they hurry up to go. Just then, Mei receives a call and is told about the second veil lowered over the Meiji Shrine Station, so they are heading there now. Gojo enters the B5 floor and 3 losers are already waiting for him. Gojo warns them that this time they will not get the chance to run away. Team Mei is told about the 2 veils, one covering the whole station and the second one on level B5 that prevents sorcerers from entering. They believe that whoever lowered the second wave must be located somewhere between these 2 veils to strengthen the barrier. 2 of their assistant supervisors were also taken out. They also believe that between these 2 veils there are transfigured humans. Hearing this, Itadori is now fired up as he might get the chance to take revenge on Mahito. We are blessed with more screen time of Mei's son where she's sharing the crow's perception and analyzing the situation. Itadori is trying to convince her to hurry up, but her brother shushes him, saying that his sister requires immense concentration right now. However, Mei tells them that they can talk, and so Itadori rubs it on the poor boy's face. Now he's complaining to his sister. Mei's crow gets killed, but she already has a fair idea of the situation. Mei then gives Itadori 2 options, either killing lots of weak and transfigured humans or exorcising one powerful cursed spirit. Unfortunately, staying by Mei's side is not one of the options. She already knows how Itadori is, so it's obvious that he would choose the latter. Mei shows him the map of the station on her phone. B5 is covered with another veil and the majority of moral people are in there. She suspects that because her crows were not allowed in there, she thinks that the culprits are making people flee to B5. Her crows got hunted between B1 and B2, so the one protecting the veil must be here. She's still not sure what they hope to achieve by this positioning and by isolating level B5. Itadori confirms if the patch-faced Mahito is between B1 and B2, but Mei shares that her crows got killed before they could confirm seeing him. To avoid all people on B4 being wiped out, they need to divide into 2 groups. Mei and her brother will take exit 7 directly to B4 and rescue the civilians, and if things get dangerous for Itadori, she advises him to head down to B4. The best case scenario would be for the veil to be lifted and civilians to be free by the time they reunite. Itadori takes the stairs to B2 and sees a grasshopper curse feasting on a human. Seeing Itadori, the curse asks if he is a Jujutsu sorcerer. Before Itadori answers, he tells him that he's clever. Itadori asks about the patch face and the curse thinks for a moment. Itadori then explains that patch face means the one with stitches all over his face. The curse feels insulted and states that he knows what patch face means because he is clever. He claims that Mahito is down below and Itadori remembers that Junpei also called the patch face by the name Mahito. Itadori then remembers Gojo's advice that barriers are pretty complicated and many people are strong, yet they cannot do anything about it. He then casually mentions that he's both strong and capable though. The curse tells him that Mahito's technique is bad and he's protecting the veil for him. So Itadori looks around and sees a strange nail behind him that must have something to do with the veil. Curse tells Itadori that the humans Mahito transfigure lose their flavor, but he can still tell the difference. Guess why? Because he's clever. Boys, I think he thinks that he's clever. Itadori has enough of this underestimation of humans, so he punches the curse and then sends him through the wall. Seeing that Itadori is trying to fight him, the curse concludes that Itadori is not a clever one, so he reminds Itadori that the not clever ones die first in this world. He asks Itadori if he has any idea who he really is. Itadori states without any hesitation to his face that he's a grasshopper curse. The grasshopper curse gives an extremely surprised reaction and concludes that Itadori is also clever. Let's dig into the locust plague. It's a large-scale disaster arising from an outbreak of locusts, and they will not only consume crops, but paper, clothes, buildings, and anything made from plant fibers. For a locust to grow, it needs to eat its own weight every day like the government, never mind. Therefore, a locust swarm weighing 1 ton will consume 2,500 people's worth of food each day, and the abnormal sounds of chewing fill the air around the swarm all day and night. Once the swarm passes, it leaves behind a wasteland covered in black fluid, so mankind has long feared and hated these demons. The fight begins, and Itadori analyzes the moves of this clever curse. Seeing how strong its jaw is and how it can understand speech means that it's decently strong. He tries to attack Itadori using its fast speed, but Itadori keeps dodging the attacks. The curse then brings out its wings to catch up with Itadori's speed. They satisfy the first rule of a fight in the 2D world, that is, wrecking the whole place up. Both monsters, the grasshopper and Itadori, are crushing the walls like she crushed my heart. The curse is now losing its patience and calls upon Itadori to stop running away and face him like a brave grasshopper. He asks Itadori which one is he. When Itadori asks what he's talking about, the curse asks a deep and mind-blowing question that might keep Itadori up all night. He asks Itadori if he's clever or if he is not clever. The curse clarifies that he's asking this because he is clever. Itadori has already seen the curse's moves, and he's sure that this curse doesn't have any tricks up his tail. Itadori walks towards this clever curse and tells him that clever people wouldn't really around calling themselves clever. The grasshopper is stunned by this statement as he never knew this rule. Itadori gives his scary look right at his face and gathers the cursed energy to punch the cleverness out of this grasshopper. The fist-to-fist battle begins, however. The grasshopper has 4 arms while Itadori only has 2. Yet, Itadori is having no problem in matching its speed. Just a few seconds into the fight, and the clever curse realizes that Itadori is the real monster here, as he is unable to match Itadori's speed and strength despite having 2 extra arms. Now it's the grasshopper's face and Itadori's punches. The curse is unable to accept the fact that his arms, his jaw, and his eyes are all superior to humans, yet he is the only one getting hit. It's not his fault though. Itadori was never a human. Itadori then steps forward to exorcise the curse, but the grasshopper spits a purple fluid at Itadori while claiming that he is the more clever one. Itadori easily dodges the spit as he is not into that stuff. Welcome again to the Locust Encyclopedia. Locusts lay their eggs underground, and to facilitate this, they are capable of extending their abdomens. The tips of their abdomens are hard and they can extend it to nearly 3 times their length. The clever curse relies on this very questionable abdomen, extending from a very questionable place, giving my very questionable mind some questionable thoughts. Itadori dodges its tail and cuts it down with a single punch. Now the grasshopper could never be a father. Itadori is not falling for any of its tricks, and he reminds the curse of what's coming for him as he has eaten a lot of humans. The grasshopper realizes that the gap in their strength cannot be overcome by any trick. Itadori exorcises the curse and then crushes the nail. Meanwhile, Mei is taking care of all the curses on B4. Lucky curses. The veil is lifted, so they now wait for Itadori, who is saying prayers for the deceased, so they can then descend to B5. Meanwhile, at the Shin-Toshin line on B5, Mahito realizes that Kogai, the clever curse, was exorcised, which means a skilled sorcerer is at B2. He wants to go and fight them, but he cannot because he has more important work to do. So he starts walking somewhere. Itadori meets up with Mei and they head towards B5. Mei praises Itadori for taking care of the veil so easily as she thought he would struggle a bit more. She has high expectations of him when he is promoted to a grade that is on hold due to the Shibuya incident. He is the first sorcerer she has seen who got this far without a technique since Kusakabe. Itadori informs her that the only reason he managed to take care of it so easily was because the patch face wasn't there. Itadori knows that if Mahito was his opponent, things wouldn't have gone this easily. Mei's brother gets by Itadori's side with an extremely angry face, telling him that if his Nisama is praising him, he has to shut up and accept it. Itadori takes back his words and tells her that he's honored and thanks her. They arrive at the B5 as Itadori runs down the stairs and Mei slides on the handrail. Lucky handrail. Mahito is not here, so they realize that they are too late. Itadori sees a woman sitting alone in a state of trauma, so he approaches her and the scene shifts to Gojo-sensei. The ugly curses block Gojo's escape route, to which Gojo assures them that he's not going to run away. They already have the humans as hostages, so if he runs away, it will make the hostages suffer. That is exactly why he's here, so blocking the route isn't necessary. However, the one-eyed curse gives a creepy smile, as this is not what they plan to do. We are shown a scene at the children's park where Geto tells him that Gojo can only utilize his full power in one scenario. Geto takes a long pause and reveals that is when Gojo Satoru is alone. They open the gates so the people fall in the lines, and now they are surrounded by non-sorcerers. They create a bind so Gojo wouldn't realize that there were people there. Back at the children's park, Geto revealed that any Jujutsu sorcerer with Gojo would only be a hindrance to him, so they would go a step lower and surround him with non-sorcerers. The tree curse and one-eye curse charge towards Gojo while eliminating everyone in their way, and the third one uses slicing exorcism to attack Gojo. However, the infinite space around him diverges the attack, but using this distraction, the other two try to punch Gojo together. Back to Geto again. He told the one-eye that the minimum output of his curse technique reversal is double that of his amplification, but if he uses it, the non-sorcerers will also get caught up in it, so he will also not charge his blue up to an effective output. Because of the non-sorcerers, he would become a dump truck, and so all they need is to land one hit. Gojo will have to focus on his defense. The punches stop before they can touch Gojo, so he smirks. They use domain amplification to close in on Gojo's infinite space, and while they are doing their best, Gojo casually thinks of something and jumps away. Everyone feels the impact of this attack when the punches collide with each other. Gojo realizes that domain amplification is the same principle as the new Shadow School's simple domain. It would reduce the chances of landing a hit, but will ensure to neutralize of any technique used to counter. That would allow their hits to hit Gojo. Gojo can also not rely on an infinite void because it would trap non-sorcerers between his domain and the veil, and would squish them to death. However, Geto told them to not use their own domains as well because if they caused too many casualties, Gojo would give up on saving the people and focus on exorcising them. Just then, one eye burns another guy because Gojo evaded their attack. Gojo tells them that he's shocked. He takes off his mask and states that he's shocked at their audacity to think that they can defeat him with just this setup. However, their real plan is to stall for 20 minutes and then Geto and the prison realm will be in action.
When asked what they know about Satoru Gojo, his students and associates give widely different answers, including that he's a kind person, as well as an idiot, but everyone agrees he's undoubtedly the strongest. Now, our fearless hero is facing off against Jogo and Nanami on the Fukudashin Line platform in Shibuya. And guess what? He's taken his blindfold off, which means he's serious and he's not one to back down. He taunts Jogo and Nanami like it's nobody's business, saying,
"You told me not to run, right? Well, here I am, right between you two."
That's a bold move, I must say. So, punches are thrown left and right, but Satoru, being the crafty guy he is and turning off his limitless technique, grabs Jogo's arm and dodges Hanami's attack like it's a piece of cake. And then, oh boy, he rips Jogo's arm off and uses it to block Hanami. But the real kicker here is when Jogo realizes Hanami messed up by deactivating domain amplification while using their innate curse technique. He screams at them, "Don't do that." But it's too late. Satoru spots an opening, goes for it, and rips those roots right out of Hanami's face. Jogo realizes the Jujutsu sorcerer is not even using his limitless, but he's still a powerhouse. Choso tries to get in on the action with piercing blood, but Satoru's like, "Nah, not today," and deflects it with limitless. Then, the cursed spirits try to amp things up with domain amplification, but Satoru warns them it's a bad idea. He's got some tricks up his sleeve as he ramps up his technique, turns and faces Hanami, pinning the cursed spirit against the wall with the potency of limitless. And before you know it, Hanami is toast. Satoru doesn't waste a second and just says, "Next." But hold on, there's more. Geto's got a plan, and it involves keeping, for a whole minute, Gojo in range of the seal they're preparing for him called Prison Realm. Jogo's not too thrilled about it, but he goes for hit and run tactics, throwing humans at Gojo. At this point, Gojo knows he can't save everyone, but he's determined to avenge them. He's got his eyes on those curses, and he's not backing down. Meanwhile, Yuji's dealing with transfigured humans thanks to Mahito. It's a real mess at Meiji Jinkimi Station because the train filled with transfigured humans just pulled up, unleashing waves of monsters on the unsuspecting humans. Mahito tries to take on Gojo, but Gojo's infinity is no joke. And then, surprise surprise, more humans fall through the atrium. But here's the kicker, Gojo decides to go all out and opens his unlimited void domain. It paralyzes everyone on the platform, even the special grade curses. And then our boy, Gojo, did the most insane ever. In 0.2 seconds, moving like a speed of light, he takes out 1,000 transfigured humans like it's a walk in the park. The guy's a beast. But just when you thought things couldn't get crazier, Geto makes his move. Prison Realm opens, and Gojo's trapped. The minute required for the seal feels like an eternity for Gojo's hyper-accelerated brain. He knows it's checkmate. And then, the bombshell. Geto reveals he's not even Geto anymore. He has been replaced by a cursed spirit who took over Geto's dead body with some brain-swapping curse technique, even gaining Geto's curse manipulation technique. Gojo's heart sinks because he knows his best friend is gone, but he's sure Yuta Okatsu will stop him. But Geto disses the boy, refusing to acknowledge him as the next big thing. Meanwhile, Yuji's got a mysterious message from a voice in the intercom saying that Satoru Gojo has been sealed.
How was the video? We hope it was good. If so, please check these videos. Also, please comment down your thoughts and your suggestions for future videos. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing now to show the support to our channel. We hope to see you soon with another video right in this channel. Have a nice day.